Hello everyone! In our last video, we followed the story of Edda through her short and rather tragic life, seeing her meet her death at only 16 years of age. But as I told you then, the story doesn't end with Edda's death. Fate is far too cruel for that. So in this video, we will explore the horrors she faces after her untimely death. If you like Final Fantasy lore, news and guides, please remember to subscribe. Also, do me a favor and give this video a thumbs up and a comment, as it does really help with the algorithm. Now, let's jump straight into the story. The Warrior of Light watches Edda fall to her death in the tam-tara Deepcroft, after they kill the horrific summoning of what perhaps once was Avery. They then head outside, seeking out Peyo, who came with them to the Deepcroft but ran out before encountering Edda. Peyo is just relieved the nightmare is over. But is it? As they glance past the Warrior of Light, they see her, Edda, standing there in the darkness. Her body is gone, but her soul seems to still remain. From this moment, Edda can actually be spotted from time to time in the various city-states of Eorzea by the Warrior of Light. But right now, to them, Edda is truly gone, even if she's not. And to Peyo, the nightmare is just beginning. Now, so we can understand the next part of Edda's story, we need to learn about a new player, Nepeth Optilord, and to understand him, we need to head back to 1997 in the game Tactics Ogre Let Us Cling Together, which was released by Square Enix on the PlayStation. Now we know canonically travel between different realities is a thing, especially based on the Final Fantasy XV in-game event, making it quite possible that Nepeth is the same as he was in the original 1997 game. As in our story, he is canonically from another world. So that is what I will base my research on. Nepeth comes from the land of Galgastani. He had a wife there and 4 children. Serving the crown, he held a job as a necromancer, focusing his studies on discovering the means of immortality. After the tragic death of his wife and daughter, he starts trying to revive the dead with only partial success. He seems to be able to either restore the body or the spirit, but he could not do both in a single person, leading his subjects to becoming mindless zombies. And it's only at the moment of their destruction that the spirit seems to be awakened, but only for just a moment. In that game, Denham is the protagonist, and he does fight Nepeth several times through the story, as Nepeth has gone to the Palace of the Dead, a dungeon in his world where he plans to continue his study. There, the hero manages to deal Nepeth a mortal blow, but the necromancer isn't willing to die. Instead, he uses the Ring of Death to transform himself into a lich, before delving even deeper into the Palace of the Dead to continue his study. Denham manages to give chase, encountering Nepeth again, striking him down this time for good. And in Nepeth's dying breath, he claims to be immortal, and that he is becoming one with the dark, and then he vanishes. And that's the end of him in that game, but Nepeth isn't gone forever. He finds himself pulled from oblivion back to the Palace of the Dead. Except this time, is not in his home world. He is in a land known as the Black Shroud, under the rule of the city-state of Gridania. From there, he continues his studies, exploring the different necromantic magic in the new world, looking into things like conjury and even the alchemical powder, Greater Spurn, which can turn people into the undead. His experiments create a variety of spectral monsters who resemble the recently dead. His magic also seems to affect the structure itself, causing the layout to change and shift into an ever-changing maze, and being merely inside these twisted corridors sap the strength from a living being, making it a very dangerous place to be without the right equipment. After Edda's death, her final vision is of a figure in a dark robe. This is Nepeth as he sensed her soul, believing she would be an excellent candidate for his experiments. And it turns out to be the most successful one yet, with Edda seeming to both be reanimated and holding at least some of her soul and self-thoughts. But she is yearning to pass on, which puzzles Nepeth, who can't quite understand why she would want to choose death over life. Still, he keeps Edda with him for some time at the Palace of the Dead, and eventually the Warrior of Light will end up going there. Within the Black Shroud in Eorzea, a strange portal has suddenly appeared within one of the Gelmora ruins. Some researchers into the Gelmora ruins discover the new magical gateway, and even observe creatures coming and going through it. Being reasonable people, they immediately inform the Wood Dwellers, who go guard the area. They head inside to find what's on the other side of the portal, only to find a twisted version of the ruins. Always they seem to change each time you enter, and require a special protective armor to just be able to stay inside without constant harm. With these dangerous ruins on lockdown, the Warrior of Light soon hears of them. The Wood Dwellers are willing to welcome adventurers to go in and explore the mystery, and the Warrior of Light is of course keen to step in to explore. As the warrior steps into the twisted corridors, Nipeth and Edda both sense them. The souls of the warrior and Edda seem to hold some sort of a connection, one Nipeth can't quite understand. At first, as the warrior travels through the palace, Edda simply watches from afar, observing them. But as they reach their halfway point to the bottom, Nipeth decides Edda should confront the warrior as a test. So at floor 50, that is what Edda does. The two face off once again. Edda loses to the warrior, and for a moment her soul seems to regain her senses. She greets the warrior before wondering where she is, claiming to remember nothing except falling, and this black-robed figure, and then nothing. As the soul vanishes, he leaves behind a single ring that the warrior takes with them before they head even deeper. It is then on the 100th floor they face against Nipeth, striking the lich down and stopping these twisted experiments. The warrior leaves the palace with Edda's ring, and just outside hears stories of a drunken Lalafell at Buscaran's Truthers, who seems to be talking nonsense to himself. Things like a dead friend, vengeful spirit, and the warrior's name. With Lalafell being a bit of a nuisance, and as they keep mentioning the Warrior of Light by name, the Wood Dwellers ask them to go check on this drunken friend and maybe help them sober up a bit. Heading to Buscaran, the warrior does find Peyo there, who is very, very drunk. Recognizing the warrior, he quickly asks for help once more, because ever since he returned from the Deep Croft, he's been unable to stop thinking about Edda. He sees her, he dreams about her, she's everywhere. Peyo tells the warrior he has been struggling with reoccurring nightmares of Edda and her twisted abomination of Avery. And in those dreams, they tell him they wish to return home. But Peyo fears now that he can't grant the request. And if he can't, they will hunt him till his dying day. But how is he supposed to grant the request at all? He had thought about hosting a remembrance service, but without bodies or keepsakes, he felt like it wouldn't even work. This is where the warrior shows Peyo Edda's ring. Now he doesn't tell him the entire story of what happened in the Palace of the Dead. But Peyo does know the ring, and points out this is Edda's engagement ring. During their adventure, he always kept it in her breast pocket because he didn't want it to get dirty. Peyo had thought to try to obtain the ring, to use it as a keepsake, but that would have meant going back to the tam-tara Deepcroft and finding her dead body. And for that, he hadn't been brave enough. But now that the warrior has brought the ring, Peyo tells them about a little plan they have, because they know where Avery's ring is located. Well, kinda, and it's not in the ruins. Apparently, during their travels, the group did stop at Buscaran's Truthers. Peyo and Avery spent a fun evening there, drinking perhaps a tad too much. But as they left and were crossing the river, Avery managed to instead fall straight into it. And in the river, he somehow lost his gauntlets and engagement ring. The two tried to search for it, both that night and the morning after when the sun had come up and they had noticeably sobered up, but without any luck. But now Peyo is positive he must find that ring. That way he can complete the pair and finally put the souls to rest and maybe get some rest himself. So the warrior, without hesitation, wades into the shallow river, seeking out the long-lost ring. Thankfully, the stream is quite shallow, and the gauntlets are quite heavy, so they didn't go too far, getting stuck on some rocks downstream. And while the gauntlets have rusted, the ring is still there. It's a simple, dull little ring, but it is the other one in the pair. And it's not the appearance that matters, but the meaning. With both the rings, Peyo and the warrior head to Summerford Farms, heading up to a place near the skylift with a stunning view of Limsa. It might not be the old home of Edda and Avery, but it is a place they passed in their first adventure together, heading to Sastasia, just like the warrior themselves, in a time that feels like a lifetime ago. So on this beautiful overlook, the rings are buried and prayers are given. And as the warrior is about to leave, we hear a final whisper from Edda. Soft and simple, thank you. And so ends the story of Edda. Her soul got lost in the deep, dark tam-tara deepcroft, only to be twisted in the Palace of the Dead. But finally, she is reunited with Avery, the two having a resting place in the bright area overlooking Limsa, where their journey first began. I do hope you've liked the story of Edda. I make these lore videos weekly, and I'm always interested in hearing about stories or things you would like me to cover on the channel. If you want to make sure to not miss a single video, remember to subscribe and press the notification bell. But whatever you do, I hope you have a lovely day and that I will see you soon.